Hi, it's Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO here in beautiful Montreal, welcoming you to another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. We're part of Fractional Pros Canada, the home for Canada's fractional community, and you can find us on Facebook. We bring you conversations about everything fractional that matters for fractional executives and businesses from coast to coast. Think of this as your go-to spot for real talk, practical wisdom, and strategies you can actually use, all without the corporate fluff and with plenty of Canadian content. Whether you're a fractional pro or a business in our great country of Canada and beyond, this conversation is for you. Grab your espresso and let's dive in. Welcome to the Fractional Pros Canada podcast, where we explore everything fractional. I'm Robert Mendelson, and joining me today is Nicole Donnelly, former pro snowboarder and now an authority in the AI space, especially when it comes to all things marketing. We're going to be talking about the double-edged sword of AI for fractionals. Is it friend or foe? The Fractional Pros Canada podcast is powered by Your CMO, the proven framework for fractional CMOs. Learn more at yourcmo.com. That's YORCMO.com. Nicole, welcome to the Fractional Pros Canada pod.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's nice to see you. I do have my snowboard right behind me.
It's blurred out in the background, but I kind of make out the shape of it there. All right, so AI, all the rage right now, and it's kind of a double-edged sword for fractionals. On the one hand, it could be super helpful, helping us with creating strategies, doing audits and all kinds of other stuff. And on the other hand, there's a lot of companies out there, aka clients and potential clients, who think that AI can completely replace a fractional. Why do I need a fractional? I can just use AI now because it can create strategies and do audits and do everything that a fractional human can. So why do I need that? So how do you see it?
Well, yes, AI can do a lot of the things, but you need that expert human eye to discern if it's garbage or good stuff. And AI will spit out the same garbage over and over to a lot of different people, and you want it to be really specific to you. And this is where fractionals can use their magic and create some agents that can produce these strategies and documents and all sorts of cool information that the average human couldn't. So we have somebody on our team with a cinematography degree, and she could get better outputs from Midjourney than anybody else could because she knows the language and she knows how to specify even camera lens, angle, lighting, and she knows the language to get those really specific outputs. And so her images were way more magical than the average person, because she knows that was her domain of expertise, or is her domain of expertise. So as a marketer, I will have much better outputs and I can craft better messaging. I know how to tune a voice in a way that nobody else can. And so I can deliver more magic because of AI. I can deliver better. This is the question we always ask ourselves. How can we deliver more magic to our clients, and how can we have it take less time? And it's only things that we know how to do that we can give AI instructions on, so that we get those amazing magical outputs that nobody else would really know how to do. And when I'm talking with my other marketing friends or fractionals too, the conversation comes up, and I always want to know, what's your magic? What can you bring to AI? Because I might want a piece of that too, but you can make it sing and dance with your special knowledge that you've earned over the years in a way that a beginner just can't, or a CFO can't, or a CEO can't, unless they have that domain expertise.
So it's kind of like the same principles that applied in the old pre-AI world, where before you give it to somebody else to do, you need how to do it. You need to know how to do it yourself. You need to know what a good result looks like. It's kind of like if you're the chef running the restaurant, before you hand off that recipe to the sous chef or the frontline cook or whoever it is, you need to have perfected that recipe yourself, so that when they make it, you can see if it's done well, if it's made well or not, if they followed not just the right ingredients, but the right recipe as well.
And the instructions, right? Like you add your heart to it. Plus, you have this 20-step SOP of how to make something like your beef Wellington or whatever. I watch a lot of Gordon Ramsay shows with my kiddo, and we just watched the Hell's Kitchen finale last night. So it's a really good one. You know, beef Wellington was like one that they messed up a lot in the beginning. But you have to know how to make these things. You have to know the ingredients. You got to know. And so you have to be able to give those types of instructions to AI on how to do it. And I know what my domain expertise is and what it isn't. Like, I'm not going to produce any financial projections or do the financial analysis on things. Like, I'll use AI to help me, but I'll still get somebody who's got that domain expertise to look it over. And a COO, so we have a fractional COO, and she thinks about things differently, and she's amazing at implementing all these different AI solutions from her lens. And she's going to save herself time and us time and like bring more magic to the team and what we're doing. And she's really excited about it. So there's this sort of AI mindset for us that our whole team has, because we've been using AI since 2015. But anybody new that joins the team, they also need to have that mindset of curiosity and just looking for ways that I feel like it is waving a magic wand. Like, we can make things automated, we can bring AI into it, and that's what a fractional can do. They can bring their magic into the situation. So she's bringing her COO lens into our operations, and she's like, oh, we could do this, that, and the other thing, which I hadn't thought of doing, and it uses AI and automation, and she didn't know about it before we introduced her to AI tools. And so now she can make connections that I wouldn't have thought of making. And so as our fractional, she's doing an amazing job bringing, you know, what we teach her even, but like through her lens as an ops person. And that's where I think right now fractionals have this amazing opportunity to really almost productize your knowledge in these AI processes, procedures, agents that you can bring into a company and implement because of your expertise.
Yeah, I love your beef Wellington example. That's a tough recipe. I like cooking, and that's a tough one to master. And I'm imagining the day when we have the conversation. Did you see that, like, Hell's Kitchen AI robot edition where they have an AI robot trained who makes it perfectly? I think, what are we, a couple of years away from that?
Yeah, I think we're a little bit away from it. There are robots that do cooking, and somebody has to program them, right? Like, somebody has to say, here's all the steps, and these are the indications. So maybe there's some visual thing of when it's browned just right, you know, and when to pull it out, because you're dealing with all these different situational variables, which could be temperature, and it can be humidity and things like that will change your bake time. And so you wouldn't be able to say, pull it out at this time exactly and have it come out. So then the robot has to learn and have this discernment of factoring in all of these other things. And that's what humans do, and that's what makes it valuable. Because if you, I mean, I've baked a lot, and you know, like, I've been to Costa Rica, right? And if you're doing some baking in Costa Rica, you're going to have different results than in Vancouver because of humidity and weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And sticking on the recipe theme, so fractionals, because we love food. We love talking about food. And I got my espresso with me. So fractionals, when we're using AI tools, our favorite AI tool, talk to me about, like, what is the best practice? So let's say we want the AI to help develop, you know, a marketing strategy, right? Classic example. Talk to me about the difference between taking my favorite AI tool and saying, give it in a few sentences of context, here's the type of company it is, here's their main challenges, you know, give me a 1-year marketing strategy to address these challenges, versus doing a prompt that is much more involved, adding a lot more detail, maybe training it on some actual documents. So what is the best practice? How good is AI today where we can get away with giving it the least amount of information for the best output, or is that never a good idea?
For a strategy, it's not a good idea for a solid strategy. Not at all. I've created these strategy prompts, right? You can go to AIPRM and look up the number 7 question marketing. It's like a 7-question marketing plan or marketing strategy, something like that. The AI will ask you 7 questions and then give you a marketing strategy for the year. So this is a perfect example to pick. Right. I even won a prompt engineering award for this prompt. And the prompt behind it is probably 4 pages long, and it's basic. It's really basic. And how you answer the questions is going to shape your output. So the better your answers are, like as a marketing professional, if you are asking your clients these questions live, let's say you're asking them question number 1, question number 2, you will be able to craft a better answer than a non-marketing person would. Because you know the flavor to put into it at that point, so that you'll have a better result. Because when I say who's your customer and somebody says small business owners, that's like the tiniest little bit of an answer. When it's asking, you may say, okay, small business owners that are in Montreal, that live in this neighborhood or that have businesses in this neighborhood. They are baby boomers looking to retire. Let's say we're targeting them for buying their businesses or something, right? They're looking to retire. They are 65 years old to 70 years old, or 60 to 70, whatever it is, right? You have more customer demographic and psychographic information. So then your customer description gets built out and your answer to the question is much better. So there's also this, like, how much information, if you give that more robust answer, you're going to get a more robust plan. And you're going to get a more specific plan, because we work with some companies where they're really geographically confined, and we work with some that are global. And you really need to define that part of it. And we use Jasper for our marketing strategies, and we input a think sheet we give to our clients, and they answer as many questions as they can. Then we spend 2 hours with them reviewing the think sheet, which is, it's a ton of questions. And then we put the think sheet into AI, plus we put the transcript from our call into AI, and we have we've got templates and we have prompts. So we have like 5 input documents, and then we tell it to run and do a strategy.
So there's a lot that goes into getting the right output.
Yeah. And with your expertise, you can. I was on a call with a marketing agency just before this, and they were talking about how their strategy production takes 8 weeks. And that's what ours used to take. And now it's like 2 weeks. We use AI, and we also use humans. So afterwards, I'll look at the strategy and make sure context is right, or sprinkle my magic on it, you know. But every time we do something like a strategy, we say, how can we add more magic to it? And how can we make this faster and easier? And so sometimes it may be another document that we upload before we get an output that is a new section. So a new section in our strategy, we started adding 3 creative concepts, a timeline to execute them, and all the tactics to execute them. And we put that in the strategy now. And then we also give them story brand information. We used to pay for a story brand person. And now we just give them their 10 headlines, 10 taglines, their elevator pitches. And it's all based on I think that document is probably another 4-page document that describes how to take the input information and get this section of our strategy.
Right. So it's kind of like I tell clients now, they ask me, how much do you use AI? What's the mix? And I typically say AI kind of does 80% of the work that I used to do. And then I focus on that 20%, right? Reviewing what it gave me, adding things, feed it back through the model with some additional training, et cetera, et cetera. So it's never a 100% AI product that anybody should be presenting to a client, because at that point you're pretty much saying you don't add any value to the chain, so to speak. So that is not the right way to go, as tempting as it might be sometimes.
Yeah, and you certainly can get those outputs, and they're handy if you're just starting out. But if you're at the point of hiring a fractional, you're not just starting out. And you would want somebody with their sophisticated eye to review anything that you're doing, for like financial or marketing or operations. Otherwise, you would want that expert eye. And this is where, so it used to be where 80% of our work is spent doing tedious tasks, 80% of our time, right? We spend on these tedious tasks. And like you said, now AI can do 80% and you can add your magic to that 20%. So you are operating in your magic more of the time, and AI can just do the shit work for you. You know,
Right.
like all of those tedious
Technical
things.
term.
Yeah. I mean, your tedious tasks, if you want to, you can give it those things so that it frees up your mind also to think more creatively and be able to, when you're going through the document, you're not creating it all and you are adding your magic to it all, because AI is really good and smart and has been trained on a lot of good information. So oftentimes it will think of things that I wouldn't have thought of. If I'm asking for insights on some data and I ask for like top 10 insights off of this data set, it will usually have at least like 2 out of 10 that I hadn't thought of before. And then it will continue to ask me questions about it. And that's where I find a lot of value too. And because of where my expertise of where I'm coming from, I will know how to have those conversations with AI. And I was working with a CEO, and she has specific knowledge about their data sets and how they use them. And we created a custom agent for them to do data analysis and produce reports and beautiful little graphs and charts. And she can query the data much better than me because I don't know her context of querying the data. She's an economic developer, which is not my context, but I could help her build the thing, because that's my area.
Right. I love brainstorming with AI. It really gets the creativity going. It's awesome. Let's talk about some of the different tools. Now, I know you're big on Jasper. You're on Jasper. And that name we don't hear as much these days as GPT and Claude, et cetera, et cetera. So give people like a quick overview. What is Jasper versus those other large language models that are dominating the headlines these days?
Well, Jasper, it has 12 different LLMs behind it. And so imagine this, like you're interacting with this one text box, that you're typing into, but there's 12 models on the back of it. And the filter through which they answer is a marketing filter. They're trained on all the marketing best practices, frameworks, things like that. So all of your outputs from a marketing perspective are so much better and more refined, more human-like. You can also set your voice on there. We have like 44 voices in our account. So I have my kind of casual voice, I have my newsletter voice, I have a marketing type voice, and then we have the voices for our clients in there. But so with Jasper, I can pick my voice. I can also pick standard. So I always use an Oxford comma in my writing, and I don't use a certain set of words that sounds like AI. So I can
Sorry,
really
what
refine.
is an Oxford comma? What is
It's
that?
when you use a comma before the word and or after you have like one or two items, right? Like that's the Oxford comma.
Got it. Continue, ...
Yeah. So it's got a style guide. It has a visual style guide, and it has this, you can have it be AP style or pick whatever writing style you want, and it'll adhere to those guidelines. And if you were to do something like that in ChatGPT, you'd have to have massive instructions for your custom GPT in order to execute like that. And it's also still going to sound more like AI. You can set up everything, but in Jasper, it also has this library of, they're kind of comparable to agents that will do different things for you. Like you could have an SOP, you could do a press release, and it has those formats and asks you the questions, and you just fill in the information and it produces it, and it's trained on press releases specifically for this job. It's trained on email marketing sequences. And you can also have a knowledge base. So in Jasper, we have examples of, we've got product information for our clients in there. We have our service information in there. We have our story brand information. We've got templates for every kind of output we want. So when I'm creating things in there, I just pull things from the knowledge base. I just tag and it adds it to the content that I'm producing. And it's also collaborative where people can do drafts and other people can approve. So once you have a team, Jasper is kind of the only enterprise solution that really works in teams, has all the voices, has all the knowledge base, and makes it really easy to produce all of your written content. And, you know, I work in ChatGPT every day. I work in Claude. I work in Gemini. And yes, I have Perplexity and Poe subscriptions too. So we compare, and I have a Copilot subscription. We compare all these things and what they can do. And then like in our classes, we show people what your outputs are in those different platforms and which ones are better at different things. And so ChatGPT is what a lot of people come to us using, and kind of more and more it's getting to be Microsoft Copilot, which is ChatGPT on the back end, but it's much more stale when the outputs come out. And there are places where you can put your prompts or agents or instructions to get the kind of outputs you want. And ChatGPT sounds different than Claude sounds, just natively. Claude sounds more human. And I find that if I'm doing a proposal, I always run pricing through Claude because it does pricing similar to the way I would. But GPT-01 now has a format that I like. So for proposals, I kind of like O1 to do that. And I run the pricing through Claude. This is what you get when you have like my expertise versus a person being like, I'm going to use AI.
Well, wait, I use AI.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I use Typing Mind, and it's kind of like an aggregator where you can, in any given chat, you can switch from one model to another in the same chat. So I'm kind of also struggling with what's the best model for what I'm using it for right now. I've been a big fan of Claude for really quite a few months, but you know, you start looking out there, you see these reports on the leaderboards, and you're seeing all these new models come out, and you're seeing Claude is getting knocked down the list more and more, and it's like, well, maybe Claude's not the best model anymore. Maybe I should try others. So I'll go into Typing Mind and, you know, ask it to regenerate the same response using a few different models and kind of shop and compare. But what is your take on, you know, Claude has not been updated for a while. Meanwhile, you got GPT and Gemini coming out with new models left and right. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Claude seems to still be pretty good, but
I love it. They actually have done a lot of updates, and Claude has the equivalent of Operator, which ChatGPT has. Like, we pay for the $200 subscription to ChatGPT so that we can like reach the edges and corners of what it can do, so that we know that for our clients. And still, Claude has this finesse about it. Claude is also more secure. They have privacy and security as their number one sort of mandate. ChatGPT does not. They, you know, and they say that they're private and secure. Of course, also, you need a paid account to have your own sandbox, or else, yes, they are training on your information. But Claude does not attach to the internet. And so when we think of what we're going to recommend to people, so there's a really big government organization in Canada that we're working with, and we have to make a technical recommendation. And so what do I recommend now? That's a big question, because I would still say ChatGPT is what I would recommend for them specifically. ChatGPT attaches to the internet, so when I'm making custom agents, I can use web search too, and that might be needed. I can do custom GPTs, which are like agents. You know, they're in that category of agents. I can create my own, and I can share it with my team. In Claude, you can't do that. And so it's hard. If you want to be collaborative in an organization, it's not as collaborative. Gemini has gems, which are their agents, and you can't share them yet. But Gemini for processing and doing spreadsheets, I love. And so I choose to do spreadsheet work over there. And ChatGPT goes down and it has hiccups and it's not consistent. You know, so I've got subscriptions to all of them, so I'm lucky that way, and I pay for it. So I can hop around. So ChatGPT is like shitting the bed one day. I just go over to Claude and I'm like, try this in Claude, try it in Gemini. And I have the paid version of each one, so I know it's secure and safe. Because I know ChatGPT is not the most consistent. And there's things where I'll take large sets of data as spreadsheets, and I want outputs that are visual, and I want outputs that give me insights. And so I want to be able to produce a report with visuals. And that's something really core to what we help people do. And I can't consistently do it in any one tool where I can bring in internet resources and that I can expect every time to get charts and graphs that look good and insight. So for me, it's a combination. But for this government organization, I'm recommending ChatGPT because it meets their security standards. It's more collaborative than Gemini and Claude right now. And yeah, it's kind of the go-to. I would have given you a different answer last September.
I'm sure you'll give me a different answer in a month from now, if not a week from now. I mean,
yeah, maybe.
And I noticed you did not say you're going to recommend the Canadian government use DeepSeek, Chinese model.
Yeah, I mean, we're experimenting with DeepSeek. And when you said some are better than others, but it depends on what you need them to do. You know, they all have their strengths and weaknesses, what's the primary thing? If you have to do data analysis and you're uploading these like private sets of data, I don't know that that's the best place for them. Yeah. So it might process faster and you may end up hosting it on your own computer if you're not going to, like download, host it, and not attached to something external. And I think that generally ChatGPT, Claude, they process fast enough for the average person.
Yeah, that's been my experience. Let's talk about agents. More and more agents. The world of agents is progressing. It used to be you have to build your own. Now they're coming, out of the box. They're already made for you. What are you seeing out there? What's kind of the best practice right now in the world of agents? If you need something specific done, is it build your own? Is it go and buy one or use an existing one?
I'd say build your own or find somebody like me who can help you build one, like our team, because those out of the box ones, I've paid dearly for some of those subscriptions too, because I wanted to try them, right? And I've been trying these out-of-the-box agents for a year now. And I have yet to find something that would meet my requirements consistently that's an out-of-the-box agent. And it's so easy to build your own that I wouldn't spend and pay like $250 a month or $750 a month on this package of agents that doesn't quite do what I want it to. And when I build my own, then I can use Zapier, put it into my own tools. And so what we're seeing is like much more customization now. And it's really easy to customize. So I don't know how long the agent companies are going to last or like what the market appeal is, because you can do a Gemini Gem or a custom GPT. Right? You can also do stuff in Perplexity. You can do stuff in Poe. You can do agents in Poe, which you've been able to do for like 2 years, by the way. And I don't know. I like to have the flexibility of updating my instructions. And when I have used the agents, when they don't work as designed or go off the rails, like you can't really do much of anything about it. So I'm not a big fan. Personally.
Can you use AI to build the perfect agent nowadays?
The perfect agent for what, though? Because you can use AI to help you with your instructions to do it, for sure.
Right.
And you have to be the domain expert to verify that that's what you want to build, how you want to build it, and the proper instructions. Because you could say that, the CEO who doesn't want to hire the fractional CMO is like, I'm going to build the perfect agent for marketing stuff. But does that person have the expertise to validate that the stuff coming out of AI that it's telling it to use is correct and going to give them the best results? This is where like a human making the instructions specific for that company or that use case is going to Like, you'll build better instructions and have than somebody who doesn't have that experience.
So again, I'm thinking of the food analogy, and I'm thinking of the head of the household goes to his favorite restaurant, gets the beef Wellington, which is amazing. They steal somehow the recipe from the kitchen, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to hire like a really like the top of the class chef out of chef school, hire them to make this recipe for me once a week. I'm going to save a ton of money. I don't have to go to the restaurant anymore, and it's going to be awesome. And of course, well, the student chef follows the recipe, but doesn't quite know what the final result actually needs to look like.
Yeah.
And the two results are very different.
And also how to tweak it, right? Like, Gordon Ramsay can tell you how to tweak something to make it better. He knows down to the second of how much longer those scallops need to cook, right? Like, that's such a big thing with Hell's Kitchen, is the scallops too, and that they have to be perfect. Yeah. And he knows that because he's the expert. So he could program the bot and he could give you that feedback, just like you or I could give instructions, and we see an output, we're like, oh, that's not quite right. We know how to rewrite the instructions to get a better output. And that's where I think, like, that the fractionals or anybody shouldn't be worried about their job, but like really advocating of, I'm the expert in this domain, I have a lot of experience, and I can build these things for you. And yes, I'll make your workflows more efficient. I'll make this company more efficient, and I can bring this set of skills to it. And it's why all fractionals need to know how to monetize their knowledge in that way. And AI is a really great opportunity. And even young people who are trying to get internships, I was having a conversation with a young person, and she's in animation, and I said, well, have you played with the AI tools? She's like, no, our school won't let us. She goes to Emily Carr. Ooh. And she wants to get an internship at a very popular animation studio in the States. And I said, well, just play with the tools. And when you're doing your application, you can let them know you know how to use these tools, because as an animator, she can give instructions to these tools better than I can. I've tried to get animations. I've played with Sora and some of the others, and my outputs are crap. And I'm sure she could get these beautiful, amazing, creative outputs that there's no way I could get, because that's her domain expertise, and she'll have an advantage if she can say, I know how to use these tools also, whether they use them or not.
That mentality of no, we don't use AI here, we rely on 100% human skills, reminds me about 20 odd years ago in the workplace, when this thing called the internet started to become popular, and workplaces started banning employees from using it or not going on social media groups because it was going to hurt productivity. Instead of embracing it and saying, yes, we encourage all of our employees to use the internet because it can help you do your job better, which helps the company. Two different schools of thought.
Yeah. And, I met people from University of British Columbia, and their marketing professor said the same. And I know now some professors over there, and they are starting to make it part of the homework assignment that the kids have to use AI, and they have to check the work and analyze what they liked about the AI outputs and what was not accurate. So they're actually teaching discernment, which is really important. And that's something, like, your discernment's different than mine, and we bring that different eye to it. So it's, the need for humans isn't going away for a little while. Until all of your discernment and my discernment and expertise are captured. Kids coming up in marketing, I don't know what the future is for them.
There's nervous fractionals out there going, she said for a little while. Does that mean a few weeks, few months, or a few years?
Probably a few years, especially depending on the industry. Because I honestly, I've been using AI since 2015, and it's been a very slow uptake. And it was not until OpenAI introduced ChatGPT and Midjourney came out at the same time, and DALL-E popped, and it was November 2022. I had 7 years of trying to get people to listen, and they didn't care about it. And now everybody's interested in it. And now there's more than 30,000 tools you can choose from, and it can be really overwhelming. And if you have a handle on just the few that make you, like that enhance your magic that you can bring to a company, like you're going to be so valuable now.
So that's a great point. So, 30,000 different tools and new ones coming out every day. So how does anybody stay on top of, what's the latest and greatest, without spending hours a week trying to, figure it out and go down these rabbit holes? What's the way to keep up with what's going on in the AI world that's relevant to fractionals?
Yeah. I would say find some good newsletters. We have one at AI Smart Insiders. If you go to aismartinsiders.com, you can sign up. We have a short list. We've got 20-ish tools that we would recommend, and we have relationships with most of the companies that have built those tools. And that's a really important part for us. So then we have influence to the product. We can give feedback and get responses, because there's a lot of tools that are just going to go away. And these are ones that we've been using for a while. Sometimes new ones make it on the list if they solve a specific need. I personally read about 10 different AI newsletters, and that's a lot to digest. And many of them will list, like, here's our top 40 tools this week. And that's ridiculous. In our newsletters, we put 3 tools. And we tell you how to do one thing. Like this newsletter that's going out tomorrow, we tell you how to build your first agent. And so we try to include like some news and some good information, but for me, like I've kept on top of it from the newsletters and then trying things. But I also have a 2-year head start, 2.5 or 10-year head start on trying things, because we were using OpenAI and DALL-E before the little chat bar showed up. When you had to be a programmer to use it, which I'm not, but I had a programmer on my team who used it. So I would say find people who are doing something similar to you or that resonate with you, that make it simple for you to digest. Follow those people, join communities. There's some newsletters that resonate with me, so I like them. Some didn't, so I unsubscribe. But that's how I stay on top of it. And then, we try to stay on top of the news, and also what's happening in some of the obscure places. Like, kind of obscure for the average person is MIT AI Labs. And at MIT, they have all these really cool projects going on. So if you want inspiration, we'll feature those projects sometimes, because they're experimental. They're not on the market, but it shows the future of where things are going. Like an AI that does your laundry for you and folds it and everything.
Oh, that sounds good.
I know. That's the number one thing. People are like, what do you want? We ask, what do you want AI to do for you? And they say, my laundry.
The first answer is not marketing strategies. It's laundry.
No, it's laundry. Like, I can do this other stuff, but just have it do my laundry. And so we put that article in one of our newsletters. And if you go to aismartinsiders.com, you can go to the blog and read past newsletters. And like I said, we feature 3 tools. So we try to keep it really simple in that way, because we don't want to overwhelm you. We also have AI Smart Marketing YouTube channel, where we'll compare some different things. Like one of them, we compared AI note takers. And as a fractional, you should probably know about AI note takers and why you would choose one over the other, and what purpose it can serve and how it can shortcut things. Like now there's one that I'm trying out that integrates with my Zooms, with Slack, with my email, and my calendar, and it gives me task list.
What's that one
everything.
Called? Hoop. I've never heard of that one. All right.
Yeah, so I'll include that on. I can give you the resources page list, like the URL, and I'll add that to it. And so far I'm like 2 days in, and I think I'm going to keep this one for a little while and use it for a while. It's one, I've tried several to manage calendar and task lists and things like that. And this one actually works, and it shows where it got the task from. So I was having a conversation with somebody on the team about fine-tuning videos in HeyGen, and it gives me a little note about train Marikar to fine-tune videos in HeyGen, and it has the Slack channel linked and everything. It's like, it's such a relief that it captures all the things I need to do and goes into my email too and does it.
That's great, because one of the problems is tool overload. I'm suffering from it. I've got like too many things and they don't connect, and it's like, when is somebody going to streamline everything? Make our lives easier. It's like the world without wires. You need to be plugged in order to use wireless.
Yeah. It's true.
So where's the world without wires? And why are we using more paper than ever? Okay.
I'm doing a presentation in Seattle, and they asked if I had print materials. I was like, oh man, I hope not. That would be ethically against everything.
No, but I've got a QR code.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I have a QR code that will have all the reference information for everybody at the end of this. Yeah. So I guess like if fractionals are listening, like I hope that they are. If you can create your little toolbox with just those few tools that you can bring to the team, to a new company, then you're going to be this AI guru for the company that you walk into. And most companies need that still. I spoke to 100 COOs last week, and 76% of them had not yet built an agent. And 24% had built agents, and not that they had them operationalized. Maybe a handful had them operationalized. But there's so much opportunity in you knowing how to make agents out of what you do in any fractional role, and knowing tools. And one of the things that we look at is compatibility with the tools that your existing tool set, because we don't want to add a big tech stack onto it. So can you use Zapier or Make to attach this thing to that thing? And again, we put those things in our newsletter, and we talk about them on Wednesdays, and sometimes we show you how to put those things together to really operationalize it. And like you said, tie all of those different tools together so they speak to each other. And, a couple of years ago, my dream state for ChatGPT is that I just tell it to connect this, and do that. And Operator is getting closer, and there's, I think they call it Computer or something on Claude. They have something similar too, using the API, where you can tell it to go to these different places. So it acts as an RPA, which is robotic process automation, where it can log into your different accounts. And so you just connect your accounts in there, and you can automate a lot of different things that way. But it's not super easy yet. And it's getting closer. And if you think about that, 76% of those COOs did not have an agent yet, right? And if you can bring that idea into a company this year, and even just start with agents as a COO or CMO, like what are those? What's your little magical toolbox?
Yeah, that's a really important point, because I think a lot of us are kind of in the echo chamber, and if we're in the AI echo chamber, it sounds like everybody's using AI and we're almost late to the game. But actually, the majority of businesses are still way behind the curve. And there's a lot of opportunity if you've kind of stayed current with AI. You can bring in a lot of value versus somebody else who is not up to date, and really make a mark with clients.
Yeah.
All right, Nicole, this was great. Remind everybody once again, where can they find you?
You can find me at aismartinsiders.com. Also, my Nicole Donnelly, I've got YouTube, I have Instagram, Facebook, I'm in all the places, LinkedIn. But aismartinsiders.com is where we kind of upload the latest and greatest information. And we've got courses, and we tell you how to do things on the blog, like build your first agent. That post is going up tomorrow, maybe tonight. So you can learn a lot there if you just want to consume some information and get started on your own too.
All right, we should mention today is February 11th, 2025. So depending on when you're listening to this, it might even be in a month from now. This might sound completely out of date. So
and we'll have to come back and do it again.
I'll have to update this on a regular basis. All right, Nicole, thanks so much for joining us here on the Fractional Pros Canada podcast.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. If you're a fractional professional based in Canada, we'd love to have you join us in the Fractional Pros Canada Facebook group, the home for Canada's fractional community. It's where Canadian fractional executives connect, share insights, and help each other succeed. Until next time, I'm Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO. May your impact be full-time, even if your hours are fractional.